Kia ora, good evening. Southland Police today began rolling out a new technology which is expected to see frontline staff spend more time on the streets. Around 150 iPhones and 100 iPads are being handed out to frontline staff over 2 days. Area Commander Inspector Lane Todd describes the move as a game changer, saying the new technology will allow staff to be more mobile and spend more time in the field.
Specifically for Southland, really what we're going to be doing now is issuing an iPhone and an iPad to all our frontline staff. And what that allows them to do is do a lot of the work they currently do behind a desk in the office. They can actually do that now out in the field, whether it's in the car or just going to people's addresses. So the main driver around that is to actually cut back time people or the police staff have to do administrative tasks.
So how much time do you think it could actually save?
Police have worked out that it's going to save 30 minutes per staff member per shift. So if you put that across our staff in Southland, it's probably about 140, 150 frontline staff, and you add all that up, that's quite a significant time saving. So the challenge for us is to reinvest that time into prevention taskings, which we're doing now.
Now with this equipment, what kind of things will police actually be able to do on them?
Predominantly, most of the work they can do on just a normal standalone desk computer, they can do on the iPhone or the iPad. So that's things like doing car checks, doing a driver check, rather than actually going through comms on the radio, they can actually do that themselves. Things like our prevention taskings around doing hotel visits or bail checks, again, they'll be tasked through their iPhone or their iPad. So they'll go and do that particular task and then just tick it off on the button and it's all done. So that all saves time for our comm centre as well. But from a staff safety point of view, if, for example, a car check goes wrong, there's a panic alarm on the system as well. So with the GPS, we'll know exactly where that staff member is. So that's fantastic for staff safety as well.
Now, in terms of security, if one of these phones or iPads is actually stolen, is there a concern that information could then get out to the public or whoever is in possession of it?
That is a concern, but of course we've already had that looked at, and so there are quite a few security codes and everything else with the gear. So hypothetically, if one was misplaced or lost, there's various security things that we can do to ensure that doesn't occur. But there's also been quite rigorous testing with them before we did the rollout, so we're confident with the processes we've got that won't be an issue.
Now, in other new technology, police also have a new crime reporting line. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the crime reporting line starts for Southland this week on Wednesday. So I guess, again, that's a big game changer for us. What that'll enable people to do is rather than actually physically come to a police station to report historic crime, they'll be able to ring up and do that on the phone. So we do have a call centre that will take those calls and say, for example, if it's a burglary, it's a historic burglary, that information will be taken, the file gets entered, the customer will get a job number, which is what they want for the insurance claim. That all happens within 8 to 10 minutes. And then what will happen after that is our scene of crime officers will be tasked at, say, Invercargill, and they'll be tasked with going out to do the forensic work if that's required. So the whole process from the customer's point of view will be streamlined and a lot quicker than what we're actually doing at the moment. And it does stop or saves people having to come into a police station to actually report those crimes. There has been some concern around whether police are perhaps trying to take a step back, but what I can assure people is that the processes are a lot more efficient for the customer, but they'll also still see a police officer, whether it's scene of crime or an actual police officer if it's rural.
A blast to remove a 2,000-tonne section of unstable rock above the Homer Tunnel has been a success, although the road remains closed. The New Zealand Transport Agency is removing the rock as it poses a high safety risk, with less than 20% attached to the mountain. Late on Friday, the rock was blasted successfully, but poor weather has meant a proper site inspection could not be undertaken. NZTA Southland Area Manager Peter Robinson says it's hoped this can be done tomorrow, and it won't be known how much more work is needed or how long the road will stay closed until this is completed. The road has been closed since May 23rd. Organisers of the A to B yacht race and Invercargill City Council Chief Executive Richard King will front up to 2 public meetings to talk about the event. The $1.5 million event has been allocated $280,000 by City Council and a conditional $440,000 has been committed by Government. A public meeting will be held in Bluff at 7:30 tonight and another at 5:30 in Invercargill tomorrow. Mr King says there have been differences of opinion in the community over funding the event, and these meetings are an opportunity for people to listen to what is proposed and to have their say. Consumer confidence is at the highest level in more than 3 years. That's according to the Westpac McDermott Miller Consumer Confidence Index, which shows sentiment is at the highest level since December 2009. McDermott Miller spokesman Richard Miller says consumers have become firmly optimistic. A high level of consumer optimism has been sustained for 3 consecutive quarters. Mr Miller says rising consumer optimism, coupled with growing confidence that household finances are more secure, points to a resurgence of consumer spending in the second half of 2013. And stay with us after the break. A decision on extending a commercial power fishing zone in Southland is delayed. Welcome back. A decision on a proposal to open a 25-kilometre stretch of coast to commercial power fishers in Otago and Southland has been delayed, with Government saying more consultation is needed. The Ministry for Primary Industries is reviewing whether to enable commercial power harvest in currently prohibited parts of the quota area at the industry's request. Primary Industries Minister Nathan Guy says further consultation is needed and the importance of the fishery to recreational users has been made very clear. Opposition group Power to the People spokesman Hamish Forrester says while relieved that areas of Otago and Southland will not be opened for commercial fishing for now, the group is concerned the areas remain at risk. This week is National Volunteer Week, held to celebrate the contribution volunteers make in their communities. In Southland, volunteers play a big part in the community. I spoke to Volunteer South Youth Volunteer Coordinator Ollie Mortensen about encouraging young people to get involved and the contribution of volunteers.
And it's a really important part of the community for people to get involved in the community. Lots of people don't really realise how much volunteers actually do for the community in Invercargill.
How many volunteers do we actually have here in Southland?
It's really hard to quantify actually how many volunteers. Lots of people just keep on doing things and they probably wouldn't even realise it's volunteering. So there's lots and lots of volunteering in Southland. In this day and age, is it a challenge to get people to volunteer? It's quite difficult to get young people involved in volunteering, but hopefully my role here at Volunteer South is to get more young people involved in volunteering.
So why is it a challenge to get young people involved, do you think?
I think the idea of volunteering's changed. Instead of doing something every day for a long time, young people are more interested in doing something in a short spurt, so doing something for an hour or 2 hours and sort of leaving it at that.
Is that something we're seeing more of in terms of organisations or groups that are looking for help, they're adapting?
It's something that's sort of getting a bit more traction with that, and I think a lot of that came from the Christchurch earthquake, with the young people getting involved with that. Sort of doing small projects is a lot more achievable for them.
Do you think the Christchurch earthquake has had an overall boost for the number of volunteers we're seeing down here even?
I think the general goodwill that came out of that and the helping out in the community has definitely become part of how young people are getting more involved in volunteering.
Now, in terms of the work that volunteers do, what are some of the roles or things that people might actually be doing out there in Southland?
Some of the young people are getting involved in doing some tree planting out at the Glengarry project, so looking at beautifying that area. Other roles are looking at getting involved in the community, maybe helping out in a shop like the hospice or the Orphans Aid shop.
Now, why target youth rather than any other age group?
Well, lots of volunteers are generally in an older age category, and so once they disappear, who's going to fill the gap? So that's why we've sort of got a project looking at getting young people involved in volunteering.
So how important are volunteers in the community?
Volunteers are really important in the community. They do a lot of jobs in the community, and if they disappeared, we'd notice those jobs not being done. So a lot of them sort of go without thanks in what they do, and they just keep on doing what they do. So if they disappear, then there'll be a big gap in the community for all those jobs that we sort of take for granted.
Young aerobic and hip-hop dancers were putting their best moves forward in Invercargill at the weekend. More than 200 young entrants competed in the BNZ Aerobics and Hip Hop Festival at the Civic Theatre yesterday. Competitors were Year 1 to 8 students from around Southland performing aerobics or hip hop. Sports Southland Sport Advisor Brittany North says it's exciting to see constant growth within aerobics in the South, and it's fantastic to see such high numbers of participants taking part in the festival, particularly in the aerobics categories. Old clothing was given a new lease of life, hitting the runway in Invercargill for an inaugural fashion show. The Invercargill Upcycled Fashion Awards drew 40 entries on Friday night, with entrants putting forward restyled or upcycled outfits. The awards were organised by the Invercargill Environment Centre, which wanted to promote itself and recycled clothing. Among the outfits entered, a dress made entirely from ties. Organisers say the event was a success and they hope to make it an annual event, also getting schools involved in the future. And that wasn't the only fashion on show in the city at the weekend. Disposable gloves and baking paper were among the materials taken to the catwalk in Invercargill for an annual wearable arts show. The fibre optic, wearable art and musical extravaganza included 34 creations, several musical performances and a hair demonstration. The event at the Ascot Park Hotel on Friday night was organised by Inner Wheel, with the majority of outfits created by members. The show was held to raise awareness of Inner Wheel and to get clubs working together. The show also raised around $11,000 for Invercargill St John. It's the second time it's been held and it's hoped it will continue in the future. And that's it from News Tonight. Unfortunately, due to technical errors at Met Service, we're unable to give you the weather next, but stay with us. Sports along with a review of the weekend's All Blacks test with former All Black captain Stu Wilson. From the news team though, good night.